The French Revolution turned public executions into prime-time entertainment. Crowds gathered, bets were placed, and the guillotine stood at the center of the spectacle. Before it became a symbol of death, this mechanism was used by winemakers to cut corks. Dr. Joseph Ignace Guillotine repurposed the design in 1789, arguing that gravity-driven blades were more reliable and humane than the messy axes of the past. The speed and efficiency of the machine introduced a new variable to medical science. Because the decapitation was so clean and instantaneous, it created a vacuum in biological knowledge that slower, more traumatic forms of death never did. By perfecting the mechanics of the execution, guillotine accidentally birthed a morbid obsession. Scientists began to wonder if a person remains conscious and trapped inside the head after it detaches from the body. Historical anecdotes fueled the debate. When Charlotte Corday was guillotined, the executioner slapped her severed head, and onlookers claimed her face blushed in rage. In 1905, Dr. Gabriel Bourrieu reported that when he called the name of a freshly executed man, the head's eyes opened and focused on him 3 separate times before glazing over. A 2011 Dutch study used an EEG to measure rat brain activity during decapitation. The fluctuating line shows clear electrical signals persisting for exactly 4 seconds after the head is severed, before slowly fading out. Applying this to human anatomy suggests that a severed head has enough time to process its own decapitation. The brain continues to function in the seconds before oxygen deprivation causes the lights to go completely out. This 4-second window suggests that death is a biological process rather than an instantaneous event. It gives researchers a specific, measurable timeline where consciousness exists independently of the rest of the body, a window that science has spent the last century trying to intercept. In the mid-20th century, medical ambition began to treat the human body as modular hardware. If the brain could survive for seconds without a torso, researchers hypothesized they could save the mind by plugging the head into a new, healthy body. Soviet scientist Vladimir Demikhov originally tested this in the 1950s by successfully grafting a second head onto a host dog. The experiment worked. Both heads were conscious, blinked, and could drink milk simultaneously, though immune rejection killed them within a month. In 1970, American surgeon Dr. Robert White attempted a full transplant by attaching a monkey's head to a donor body. The monkey woke up with its consciousness intact, able to see, eat, and follow objects with its eyes. These surgeries temporarily succeeded because vascular surgeons can reconnect blood vessels to keep the brain oxygenated. As long as the blood flows, the plug-and-play logic of modular biology holds up. However, this diagram shows the bottleneck, the spinal cord. While blood vessels are easy to stitch together, science has not yet figured out how to fuse millions of severed nerve endings back into a functioning cord. The result was a horrific compromise. The animals were fully conscious, but trapped in permanent paralysis, unable to control their new bodies or survive the eventual immune system crash. In 2017, Italian neurosurgeon Dr. Sergio Canavero boldly announced to the world he was ready to attempt the procedure on a human. He claimed he had a methodology to finally overcome the spinal cord problem. His willing volunteer was Valery Spiridonov, a brave man suffering with a terminal, degenerative muscle-wasting disease. For Spiridonov, the extreme, unknown risks of a full transplant were vastly preferable to the certain decline of his own body. Canavero's plan involved cooling the head to preserve tissue and using a chemical glue called polyethylene glycol to fuse the nerve endings. It was a high-stakes attempt to turn science fiction into a medical reality. The global medical community fiercely condemned the project. Leading surgeons and ethics boards called the plan reckless and scientifically impossible, ultimately blocking the support and funding needed for the surgery to proceed. The cancellation of Spiridonov's surgery signaled a turning point. After decades of troubling animal experiments, the human spine remains a hard biological limit, stalling the dream of physical body swapping. With the spinal cord remaining an impassable barrier for physical transplants, some researchers have shifted their focus away from repairing the body entirely. Instead of fixing the hardware, they are looking for ways to bypass it. The objective is now digital immortality. If the consciousness can be uploaded directly into a computer, the mind can theoretically survive without needing a biological body at all. Companies like Elon Musk's Neuralink are currently developing the foundational technology for this shift by building interfaces that connect human neurons directly to artificial intelligence. These brain-computer interfaces are currently used to help paralyzed patients regain communication, but the ultimate goal is to translate human thought into data that can exist outside the brain. This tech-driven pursuit, including initiatives to transfer minds into robotic avatars by 2045, is the modern answer to the spinal cord problem. By replacing flesh with data, science hopes to finally decouple the mind from the failures of the body. But the technology to upload a mind is still years away. While we wait for the digital future to arrive, some are choosing a temporary stopgap to keep their consciousness in the game. Cryonics companies like Alcor charge patients hundreds of thousands of dollars to preserve their bodies, or just their severed heads, in liquid nitrogen. The gamble is that by halting biological decay today, future scientists will eventually have the technology to thaw, cure, and upload these preserved minds into new forms. Our obsession began with an 18th century execution machine that accidentally proved the mind outlasts the body. Today, that discovery has evolved into a global effort to leave our biology behind entirely, turning death from a finality into a problem that science might one day solve.